It's a little bit difficult because you can't really go for that Sand King, I don't think. It matches up okay versus the Axe, saying that he is a sort of pseudo Manta style illusion carry, but do you want to put that much disable? There's sort of do you want to put the pressure on your Sand King as well as not really having that fantastic laning partner? Of course, Keeper of the Light, you're able to give him double Burrow Strike. You're able to be a little bit annoying, but I feel like we're going to see that Keeper of the Light playing on the TA side of the map a little bit more, play that more stacking style, and they're going to go for it. It's a sort of solution, but I am a little bit worried. But I honestly like what both teams are putting down right now. I think they're both getting some very solid lineups.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised they actually went for the Ember Spirit here. I mean, traditionally, I would say probably before the most recent patch 7.29, Ember Spirit was a little bit more favored in this mid matchup. I think nowadays it's pretty heavily favored for TA. I think even if you're the best Ember Spirit player, you're gonna lose the mid lane matchup versus TA as long as they're relatively competent. You're gonna either draw the lane and then she's gonna out CS you, or you're just gonna flat out lose the lane and she's gonna out CS you. So I'm a little bit surprised they went for the Ember. Like you said, it is a definite comfort pick for Analog here, but it's like you said, it comes down to lockdown, which they definitely lacked on the side of Furia. The Sand King does help. I'm a little bit skeptical. I think this TA is gonna have a really good time just because of that pick. And unless something like unless the mid lane gets misplayed, I think this TA should be pretty chill. Ban wise, they've got to get rid of an offlaner here for Hokori. They get rid of the Darkseer. That's a fantastic one.
Yeah, and they're playing again into that history where they've seen Tiaras on this axe over and over. But this is where Hikori do have to make that call whether they want to put Vitaly on it, because that Sand King, like I said, you pick it into the axe thinking that it is a pseudo Manta illusion style carry because that is how you have to play the safe lane axe. And Sand King is one of the most annoying heroes when it comes to that playstyle where you are going to lose your initiations in the first fight. You are going to lose a lot of that damage. It's not a Viper, of course. I think a big reason why Hikori felt like they could maybe go for that hero in the safe lane is because they already see that Viper banned out. But is it going to be enough for them to really flip the script? We won't know because they do have last pick. They can really make the final call. But then you already have the Darkseer banned out. I think Furia are right now covering what could be coming from their safe laner, and they still have that flexibility whether or not we are going to see that TA go mid, which, like you said, does match up pretty well versus the Ember Spirit. You would get hit up by that Meld Strike. You eat a lot of those creeps, especially if you try to get aggressive in lane. And we do see that Timbersaw ban. It did feel like that Timbersaw ban needed to happen.
Yeah.
Really, we always see it in that first phase, but both teams getting a little bit greedy with their bans, and luckily it didn't fall into either team's openers. But now, what are you going to find for Vitaly now that this offlane pool is thinning out just a bit? And that's where maybe if you want to dive back into that carry pool, Furia have drafted themselves a little bit of an advantage here where you get to ban out those very annoying offlaners and then are now possibly able to pick up a very, very safe, secure carry hero because, again, no bans across the board in that carry pool. Everything is open to either side. And Hikori banning out the Batrider are saying that they think it's going to be a safe lane TA, which is a little bit strange because personally, I don't think it's going to be a safe lane TA, but that's where Furia, we really won't know up until this final pick what they want to do with their lineup because they still remain to have that flexibility that usually we don't see teams go for when they have the first pick, but they're saying, we don't want to give you too much of an easy time to read us. We're going to slam something here, but okay.
And this makes a lot more sense. Something that's even better at dealing with the Ember Spirit in the mid lane. It's really good at catching the Ancient Apparition. And again, we talked about the lack of lockdown being great for the Ember Spirit. Well, Hokori doesn't have much outside of like the call. I mean, Hoodwink doesn't do a great job at keeping Storm Spirit down. Very easy to just jump away from that hero. And then Ember Spirit Slight Chains, decent. But again, the Storm Spirit lane is drastically favored for the Storm Spirit here.
Yep, and we've seen Storm Spirits before. We've seen Storm Spirits be very successful. Also seen them flop here and there, but if there's one thing to be said about that Storm is that he's way more robust. You're not going to be as susceptible to those hoodwink games that might come through. And then we do see Vitaly getting put on that axe, and it's not the worst laning situation versus the TA, but you can't help but feel like even though there were those Doom changes where he has a lot more base armor, you're still going to get melded in lane. You're not really going to be able to shut her down. We're probably going to see a lot of that creep cutting, and you don't have that much lockdown. It's going to be so heavily on TRS to find the Storm Spirit. And before, earlier today, we did see how effective that axe can be versus those elusive heroes where if you can get the Storm in a call, if you can get a Puck in a call, they're probably going to die. However, if you miss them, if you let your supports die first, we have a lot of secondary damage coming from both El Misho and Gardic. But if the Storm Spirit can go in on you, if the Seuss can find them, then you are really going to struggle to finish off these kills. Similarly with both the Ember Spirit and the Doom, while they're going to get their damage eventually, early on around that Axe's timing, everything is going to be coming from both of those supports.
We'll see how it goes, man. I honestly, I'm a big fan of this Doom off lane. I think this is a sick pick. Overall, I would say Hokori got pretty much everything they wanted in the draft. The problem you have is whether or not this analog Ember Spirit can come out of the mid lane, pretty successfully. TA should be all right, safe lane, she'll farm, but the thing is so will Vitaly, right? Like he's going to be going Doom. He'll probably pick up. I actually don't know if he can afford to go for a Midas this game. I think that's a little bit too greedy, but he might. If he wants to back for the Midas, just get like Midas Blink BKB, then he's feeling pretty strong in the Doombringer in this game. Being able to find the Storm Spirit is his only job, pretty much, this whole game.
And that's where Vitaly does need to think, how many items do I really need? Because it does feel like you'd want to get that casual hood. You'd want to get something to be that pseudo frontliner because as of right now, while TRS is farming, that is going to be your role. You're going to be the one to sit in front of mid, and you're the one that they're going to jump initially. And that's where it does feel like Fúria Jovem's lineup makes just a little bit more sense. As well as I've seen the safe lane TA into Ember Spirit, where if the Ember Spirit isn't able to snowball his advantage, you get chunked by the TA. You do not have very good armor, and it's something that you can definitely close the gap with itemization, but you need to get there. And that's where I think a lot of this early game is going to come down to which spirit gets those runes, who's going to contest the power, and then fighting over these stacks. That's something we always see in these SA games, is they always allow themselves to have the ability to farm those stacks, but they also want to fight over their enemy stacks. We always see those huge smoke rotations when it comes to these SA teams, running into enemy teams triangle around that 10-minute mark, depending on who gets online just a little bit faster.
The quest for ultimate glory.
All right, out of the pause we go. Jumping into the first game here of the two open qualifier teams. Very excited to see how they stand up here. Hokori versus Furia should be a pretty sick match. This is the new Doombringer set, isn't it? It is indeed. It's a good one. It is a well-made set. I like this. The sword is sick too. Well done.
You look at the belt too. That's pretty.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty
that's
cool.
that's the only piece from this set I use actually on my current Doom. I got a real smorgasbord of different Doom cosmetics, but the belt on this one is super sick.
Well, when you get a cash set 6 years in a row, you're gonna have a lot of Doom items, and he just has so many slots for what feels like no reason. I still can't believe Winter Wyvern only has 2. It's just not a fair world. It's just not fair.
Yeah, Wyvern needs some love. Just having 2 slots feels kind of funny. But, what can you do? It's similar to Phoenix, right? Phoenix has, like, the 3 slots.
Ooh, Garda gets hit by that meld. It just is so much. I think as well, there is the Blight Stone coming in from Duster, where Vitaly, you have to be so careful standing in this lane. If you can dodge out some of those early melds, the only issue with meld level 1 is you are literally a melee here. If you look at that range, it is not fantastic. Once you get the side blades, it gets a little bit easier. And that's where every TA player who actually plays TA is going to feel more comfortable, because you see Leo, he actually has to run so far forward to get that successful meld strike, and that's where El Misho is just going to right-click you.
Absolutely. Doesn't have a Blightstone himself, though, on the Hoodwink. Just lots of regen. Wants to be able to stand in this lane as long as possible. Ooh, Duster. All right, does connect to the Arctic Burn there, going back and forth. But overall, Vitaly here on this Doom should get a decently timed level 2. El Misho, however, still applying a lot of damage over to Duster. We can talk about the mid lane. It's going to be Storm Spirit versus the Ember.
And Sooths with his incredibly entertaining name, but this should be a relatively hard matchup for Analog. You actually see him not really contesting his range creeps at all. Kind of a misplay, but knowing how bad that level 1 Flame Guard is, I don't really blame him. But still, Sooths is kind of pulling ahead here, and that's where the Storm, who does have relatively even damage with the Ember Spirit, you just have the ability to sit there and right-click. For some reason, you have 3 more armor on the Storm Spirit as opposed to the Ember. Again, it's not a fair world, and if Analog can stay underneath his tower, he does have that tier 1 protection, but that's where you're going to see Sooths just pull ahead a little bit. It's hard to say, not say y'all still garbage, but it's, what can you do? The website was down.
Yeah, I just say Storm. It's easy enough. But yeah, the thing is like he's able to play super aggressive on the Storm Spirit here. His bottle already being delivered, and yeah, he's having a great time. Doesn't really have to worry too much. Just gonna pick up the Water Rune top. Actually, yeah, okay. I thought for a moment he might try and contest the Ember Spirit, but I feel like that would not be smart.
And that's where you also see Sooths going for that static remnant level 2, not seeing the early point and pull just yet. We'll see how he decides to build it up. He's got the Null Talisman queued up, but then immediately into that Orchid. We've seen a few different Storm Spirit builds at this tournament, whether or not it is the immediate rush into the Kaya Sange or that Wand double Null Spirit build that you really allows you to get active a little bit sooner just because you have that much more of a mana pool. But this mid lane is not fun. You see with the level 1 Flame Guard still, it's really just 2 spells, and Analog is going to eat a lot more damage.
I'm trying to see like what, you know, Vitaly can do here on this offlane Doom. I mean, at the end of the day, he's all right on the CS, hanging in there. El Misho is still doing a pretty decent job at trying to zone Duster off of his hero. He's just gonna salve up. He spent a decent amount of money on regen, but does get the chainmail delivered, so the bonus armor will help him out quite a bit.
And it is a very annoying lane for him. It's just whenever he walks up, you have -7 if that Melt Strike does hit. And Omisho has done a good job just trying to make sure that none of these pulls actually go through. And Duster actually doesn't have a courier coming out for him, and Leosa had to salve himself, so if they play this next minute well on Hokori, then there will be no recourse for the TA. She'll just have to really bide her time, sit underneath her tower to regen, and that's where maybe we'll see Vitaly pull ahead just a little bit, but until he gets his phase boots, there really shouldn't be kill potential on anyone. The easiest kill they could get, as always, is going to be that 5 position where maybe they catch Duster with those very long cooldowns. You see, going for that Cold Embrace at level 3, just feeling like he has to because of the aggression coming out. And it's really just aggression coming from El Misho because he's the only one that's able to trade. If you walk into that wave, you eat so much damage from that Doom, but that's where you might pull ahead a little bit on the Hokori side.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised that Ember Spirit is doing as well as he is in the mid lane. Like, he is getting kind of crushed in CS. I mean, he's about half that of the Storm Spirit, but he's getting experience, which at the end of the day is probably the most important thing for him, because once he has points in the Flame Guard and he's able to just jungle, he should be able to help stabilize his own game. But the Storm Spirit, I mean, I imagine once we see him hit level 6, he's going to just jump off to the jungle, clear off a couple big stacks, and then rotate shortly after. Are there stacks being made? Yeah, there's a couple. Okay.
Yeah, a couple already, and that's where we'll have to see if he gets the next point in Static Remnant. We've seen a lot of Storm Spirits just max the Static Remnant so you can actually farm those stacks in an expedient fashion. We don't really see that active overload build anymore. No 2-1-3 on the Storm Spirit, even though that was in the days of past. And you see him already buying some of his Orchid components, so we're not going to see early treads. We're not going to see the active Storm Spirit build. He's just going for that rush for a very good reason, as well as you will have to force Analog to make a difficult decision, because on this Ember Spirit core-wise, you really just want to get that phase Orb of Corrosion early game, and then you don't want to be forced to buy that BKB that soon. You always want to finish off that Maelstrom if you can, but if you get that Orchid too soon and you play around it very well, then it forces the Ember Spirit into a very difficult spot item-wise, where you do mess with his timings just a little bit.
All right, let's see. I mean, I guess we're just still paused for a little bit. It was Leo who was experiencing a little bit of lag, but Axe in the safe lane. Doing well on CS, indeed. Sexy Fat Sand King, not having the best of times so far, but portion of this could probably be explained by RDO leaving, and stacking jungles and stuff, since that's just pretty much what Keeper of the Light does. Him having his, I was gonna say the small camp being blocked here for the Storm Spirit is a pretty big deal. I imagine that is something they're gonna need to deward pretty quickly here.
And something they actually haven't noticed, because Sooths has been playing so well on the Ember Spirit's high ground, he literally hasn't farmed that small camp yet. So I kind of understand why it's not unblocked, because he has just sitting in lane, sort of dumpstering analog, as again we already see, and we've spoken about it already, but doubling him up CS wise. And it's not like analog at the same time wants to go over to his small camp and farm just yet. Sooth is really playing the lane dominating version of this hero, and for a very good reason, because you don't want to give this Ember Spirit those free levels, because if you give him too many points in that Sleight of Fist, if you allow him to kind of take the buys, absorb a lot of damage coming from your overload, then you get in a position where the harass starts to matter, and you don't want to be buying HP regen on Storm. You want to just flood yourself with those clarities, play around those runes, and unfortunately getting, I believe, his rune taken away, just RDO saying, I don't want to give this A any opportunity. TRS is pretty independent, so no bounty rune for the Storm, but we will have water runes in just a moment here. Gonna go 50-50 most likely.
And RDO back into the jungle here to try and continue stacking this up. I mean, he's under vision, but what can you do if you're Hokori here? Like, the only option really... Oh, does that ancient stack just block the hard? It does. Okay. That was interesting. So
Yeah,
he stacked
I
ancients, but blocking the hard camp there was not worth it. Maybe he thinks there's a ward, which would not be the case. Yeah, I mean, there is a ward, but, you know, not necessarily blocking his camp.
Just a little bit of greed, in addition to the fact that he wanted to keep the bottom water rune out of the hands of the Ember Spirit, which he did succeed in. Only Sooths was able to pick up one of those runes, the other one, of course, going to the Coddle. But you do block that ancient stack, something that might hurt Leo in the long term, but we'll get there eventually. And Leo actually taking a lot of damage top, as well as Vitaly. Oh god.
Nearly dies. I mean, heroes in all lanes actually falling incredibly low here. Vitaly's got to have some sort of regen coming out, or he is in a really bad spot.
This is where I watch the Cyblades, and I'm a little bit scared for him, but Amisho is trying to do a good job getting that refraction charge down already, and it will finally get popped on the TA, but it's unfortunate because of the build that Duster ended up going for. If he had a second point in either the Splinter Blast or the Arctic Burn, I'm pretty sure that Doom is dead, but it comes back to all the very efficient trading that Amisho's been able to get done on this Hoodwink, where it has been very effective. It has forced them to go for some slightly different builds, and unfortunately, Leo's style is this TA. Can't really slow him down. He is going to be rotating to the jungle whenever he feels like this lane is going to be more of a liability to him, probably when Vitaly gets that little bit closer to level 6. And that's where we also see Amisho going all the way back to base, trying to give his offlaner a little bit more of that solo XP. But fantastic ward from Furia, really scouting out everything, and seeing the Vitaly's alone, they can exactly do this. And it's going to be a wasted Scorched Earth after the fact. Can't really get aggressive now. But Duster actually, oh no.
Falling quite low. Nice cold embrace though, it'll be fine. There is an Infernal Blade coming. Leo does need to be a little bit careful, but gets those refractions back up. Just going to zone out El Misho. And yo, I mean, he's losing that refraction. They might go for a dive here. Ooh, he misses the bushwhack though, and now Infernal Blade gonna do a decent chunk of damage, able to split that off. Next level, or next refraction coming out just to keep him alive.
And that's something that usually Hokori do really well. Amisho and Vitaly, you see they have those Ironwood branches slotted in. I always see Amisho have tons of branches on this Hoodwink in case he wants that point blank bushwhack, and I feel like they could have gone for it there, but instead, I really let one slip away, and even though the TA is now out of mana, and you do have a pretty nice creep wave pushing into Vitaly, that's all that the TA wants at this point. She wants to push in the wave, sit on her tower, wait for some more regen, and you even see her rotating out because you have this massive ancient stack. Not even sure if you're going to get it. Okay,
Analog's just being... Yeah, he's just going to dive in mid and kill him. Ember, I don't know why, but Sooth just kind of stood around in the mid lane, like trying his best to clear that up as fast as possible. And Ember's just sitting there auto-attacking him the whole time, and he manages to get the kill, 4 points in the sleight of fist with the level advantage. And that's a pretty big death there for the Storm.
Yeah, and that's where he probably got greedy, because you don't want to play into your enemy's matchup where you don't want to have to buy salves for yourself. You want to get greedy, you want to invest in yourself, and you 100% get punished for it. And this is why they value Analog so much on this Ember Spirit. He's the one to kick off a lot of these fights, and now with his Orb of Corrosion finished off, he's going to look to run at the enemy team's jungle. And I think Elmisho maybe scouted out that large camp. We're going to see him jaunt over to that Remnant in just a few here. And meanwhile, during all of this, Wheel was able to more or less uncontestedly farm this Ancient stack, which was a pretty big one. But I don't know. You still don't want to give up that kill.
Well, they're going to make the jump, find Gardic here. Should be an easy pick off. It will go the way of RDO since he's the one who had the DD rune. But, you know, something going the way there of Furia, getting themselves on the board there 1-1. But it is, once again, this safe lane Axe topping the net worth charts here by quite a bit. I mean, he's 600 gold in front of the TA. And one of the things that I always see is just how farmed TRAs almost always gets. The one thing that's not going his way is the fact that there are no Ancient stacks for him currently.
And that's where Elmisho probably has enough time to do it. He's just prioritized scouting out the enemy stacks instead. And they do have an eye on this huge stack right here. I'm not sure if Analog is able to do it. He's going to walk over with the 3 points in Flame Guard. He might be able to force it, because I think he actually saw the Storm Spirit running back, because he has to go back to base, and this might just be a really free stack. He even puts down the safety Remnant in case he does start to get run at, but just more money into the hands of Hokori.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do to contest this. They don't really think that this is happening, but yeah, big mistake there. Gonna farm this one up in the jungle. Doom obviously has his ultimate available. We haven't really seen it thrown out quite yet, but obviously once he finds a target, he'll probably just drop it and go for a quick kill. No reason to hold on to that ability. They're not making any big rotations. Like, they're not looking for the Storm Spirit quite yet. I think what they're probably gonna wait on, is he going for the blink? Yeah, he is. He's just gonna rush the blink dagger. There you go.
And that's where you look bottom and you see Gardic trying to get his level 6. I've seen Gardic do this before. He's a very not greedy Ancient apparition. He's going to let his presence be known now. And that's where Duster does have a little bit of an easier time. It's much harder to dive a Winter Wyvern than it is to dive that A, but they're making him to play mid, actually. I don't think they know about the Sand King walking over.
They don't. I mean, he still managed to stay alive and tops off all his mana. He's able to get out on the Ember, but Elmisho probably not going to be as lucky. He's able to get one more auto attack. No evasion proc there.
No whining now.
And the high ground vision coming in from the static Remnant. It's just too easy for Suits, but this all comes at a pretty hefty cost, as now your Sand King has to walk all the way back bottom. You're going to get him out, and okay, Curse went onto Vitaly, but it doesn't really matter. It's just one little sleight of fist from Analog, finishes off the kill, and there's a cart pushing your top wave. They're going to try to get the same aggression going bottom, but I wonder how long Gardic's actually going to stay down here, because I think both teams really want to dodge out right now.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine this top lane tower is going to die pretty easily. Elmisho will find RDO here. Trying to set something up here for the Doom. Phase Boots coming over. Jumps into the trees. And Analog with a nice little sleight of fist sets that one up. Orb of Corrosion completed like we saw. And he actually did a really sick pull through here on the Ember to drag this wave. It's going to allow him to farm both the hard camp and the wave simultaneously while they get the tower. And without the catapult, that's just going to be much easier for them. Ooh, Gardic barely getting out before that TP.
Sexy Fat even pings it after the fact. He knew exactly that he was going to be on top of him, but that's so unfortunate because you lose 2 top, you get out of bottom just in time. Gardic staying for just a level more. Now he's level 6, has that AA blast, and that's where we might see some of these heroes start to die, where Elmisho, who's also level 6, this is what I like to see from the Hokori side. Whenever both of their supports are having a good game, they play so much better with each other. It really sucks whenever you get to see this Hoodwink sort of fall behind, doesn't have a lane to go to, especially with how greedy everyone is on their side already, but managing to get the levels in a reasonable amount of time, this is exactly what they want.
Like dagger reveal here. That's going to go right onto the Ember Spirit, but there's no follow-up. You can't even Winter's Curse this guy. It wouldn't have mattered. And as a result, I mean, that's not a great way to start with your Blink Dagger.
No Epi now, and you have to really wait. Maybe if you had the max Bro Strike, I don't even think that would have mattered. You just need to find heroes to play with, and that's where I'm very surprised that Sooth didn't give him that same position, and they're looking for a play onto Vitaly, but...
He's got a Blink.
Yeah.
He's chilling.
It just doesn't work. Fortunately, you do have this Coddle Storm combo, so you will be able to give him just a little bit more gas in the tank, but if Vitaly ever finds that Doom target, it's just going to be a terrible situation, and Amisho's still scouting out. They want to find something here, and...
Oh, they got the Storm. That's the Doom coming out right on the money, and they will go ahead and drop the Winner's Curse. It's not going to last that long, and with Ice Blast coming in from downtown, snipes him right on the money. Well played by Gardic, and now Analog behind the tower, continuing to look for more, but he's out of Remnants. He does have to be a little careful here. Sexy Fat. Bro Strike is available, holding it for the time being, but Analog just doing so much damage onto the backline. They can't chase for more. And that's the big kill, right? Slowing down this Storm Spirit, and despite having what was a pretty decent start to the lane, Analog doing a lot more in this game so far.
And that's where the Orchid Rush, we have to see more coming out from the Storm Spirit. He has it. He can put pressure. That's why he wanted to go on Vitaly top, but they need more vision. If they're not able to find those guaranteed jumps, it's too early. The bad thing about this build-up with the Orchid is, while it gives you 20 int, that is it. You don't have that much mana to work with. You would have pretty much the same if you had that Kaya. Of course, that regeneration is a little bit higher in the buy-to-buy, but if you're not finding kills with this burst damage, I think him and the Sand King really need to start syncing up here, looking for those bigger kills. They're pinging onto Axe, but I don't think TRS is going to give you the play either. They need to find their targets, whether that's going to be Analog, and here we go. Perfect.
Yeah, great find there. Right. The Orchid this time with the follow-up of the Epi is more than enough damage to help find that kill, and you know, it's one of those things that they need to start doing this. Like, the Storm Spirit has to start making rotations with this like newly purchased Orchid, and Sand King needs to make good use of that blur of the Blink Dagger, as well as that Epicenter whenever it's not on cooldown. And finding Analog there is probably one of the best ones you can find. You're never really gonna get your hands on this Axe. He's gonna be playing super deep in the jungles. He's got a Manta style to take care of the lanes. He's not gonna be putting himself in a bad position. As a result, he's still top of the net worth.
And in addition to that, Vitaly is also a pretty easy target for them to hit because he didn't go for that hood. He's instead just immediately rushing for that BKB, another avenue that you can definitely go for on the Doom. The only issue is if you do get picked off, if you do die in that initial pull from the Storm Spirit, you're going to continue to find yourself having these issues. The only problem I'm seeing from Fúria Jovem is, as good as this Keeper of the Light is, your supports are not giving you as much damage as the supports on the Hokori side. And that's where, even though they've been making a few less plays than Fúria Jovem, at least with the Sand King Blink Dagger, they need to finally get some kills to their name. There's still no points in Searing Chains on Analog. I think that's a little bit of a mistake here, as well as Vitaly not able to find a Centaur creep just yet, so you don't have that Blink stun. And that is something that hasn't really been figured out yet on the Hokori side. They don't have those stunners. They still need some form of initiation, and that's where, even though Suits did get picked off top, he's going to have a relatively free time, especially once he gets this Kaya Sanj. It's going to feel like he is that much harder to kill. And now finally having a point up in the chains, it does feel a little too late, but they want to play on the rune. This is the exact same play they made on the Ember Spirit. It's a little risky. Okay, both back out.
An Invis rune bottom. Vitaly might actually want this. Nah, they're just going to still bottle up on Analog. Okay.
And that's where both carries are still incredibly quiet. We're waiting for the Aghanim Scepter finish on the TA while still having that Deso. Man, this TA is actually so farmed in. Well,
yeah,
played
TA's just been left alone to kind of do whatever she wants. And, you know, Leo farming incredibly fast, like you said. The Deso completed on the way to the Aghanim Scepter with the Dragon Lance, of course. And she's not keeping up. She's keeping up kind of with the Axe. Like, the lead has been about the same for the two of them for a while. But the problem is, Axe is going to come online here in just 3.5 minutes. And he is going to be the absolute monster. And well, in the river here, or jungle rather, they do manage to find the Storm Spirit. Great Orchid targeting there onto the Doom. They turn around with the Winner's Curse. Snipe does get tanked there by Duster on the Wyvern, and he ends up going down in the process. The question is, can they get the Storm? Analog protected by an Invis rune for the time being. Slide chains mid, gonna find the Sand King. And then the Doom comes out. Tiara is looking to chase him, gets the taunt, pulling him back in even further. Ember Spirit on the backside, trying to do what he can, held in place, but it's going to be the Storm Spirit that leaps for more, taking down the Hoodwink. Now Analog and Storm going head to head. In comes Leo here on the TA, but it's not enough damage to finish off that Ember Spirit. And now Vitaly, gotta be careful. Oh, it's gonna be Tiara's on the axe. He takes down one, gets the call onto a second, gets away with murder as he just sprints away.
And it's no tower damage here. Aren't able to claim that tier 1 tower for Hokori, but I think you're really happy with that. Tiaras, more gold into the hands of the axe. This is such a farmed axe. It's hard to keep reiterating that point. And typically you'd say, oh, well, he has to wait for his ag shard timing. He's not that strong, but Tiaras getting the Blink Dagger delivered in that fight, and then Sexy Fat continuing to struggle to find these initiations that he really needs to start getting. We have a BKB now finished on Vitaly as well, and this is not a great situation. And without the map control, oh, Suits.
Yeah, he's just going to go aggressive here, find the Hoodwink. Part of me thought Vitaly might jump over and try to save him, but no real reason. He still has a Hellbear Smasher's Thunderclap instead of finding a Centaur, which Tiaras should probably leave that Centaur for him, but never mind, Vitaly. Not today. You can find your own Centaurs.
Yeah, I really do wish they would give Vitaly the time to pick up, because that really is when we start feeling the strength of that Doom. And you see he's queuing up an armor item. He really needs an armor item, but you take a look at Tiaras and oh my goodness, he's going to have BKB. He has so many items. Once this 20-minute mark is actually here, he's going to be one component away from a completed BKB at that point. In addition to the shard, they've just done such a fantastic job playing for him. And at the same time, your TA is really farmed as well on the other side of the map, but you can't help but feel like this axe is going to do just that little bit more net worth wise for Hokori's side, where Leo, while it's fantastic that now you are going to be able to encompass the entirety of the map, you are going to have that Aghanim Scepter pretty soon here, that is just what it allows you to do. You aren't going to be able to team fight any better. You aren't going to be able to initiate any easier. That is still going to be completely reliant on both your Sand King and your Storm Spirit. So Hokori having another playmaker is definitely going to throw a wrench into Furia's works. That's where we're really going to need to see more coming out of Furia's initiators, but also a little bit more from Duster. We haven't really seen him get those breakneck curses, saving his allies. I think that fight mid would have gone way worse if Suits didn't immediately kill off both supports. To that extent, Hokori also need to be mindful. They can't just let their supports die. They rely on them so much for finishing off these kills.
So this, I think, is it's close, but might be a record for like one of the most farmed axes I think we've seen so far in the tournament. I mean, Tiaras probably has the number 1, 2, 3, 4, like probably the top 6 net worth positions at 20 minutes, all held on his axe. But I mean,
yeah,
most times he's getting like the Ogre Club delivered at like 20, like just after 20 minutes, and he now has like a Mithril Hammer, like almost his BKB completed as well. Like this is probably almost 2,000 gold in front of what we see from almost any other axe in this game. And yeah, he is a monster right now. They smoke up immediately with his shard timing. Makes a lot of sense. Furia have to know that this is happening, so they smoke themselves. But I think they smoked under a ward. Analog, or not under a ward, but the Analog saw them from across the river.
Unfortunately, Analog was also smoked, I believe, so they do realize exactly what's going on. And now that you have this Aghanim Scepter on Leo, he's got a few traps in that bottom lane. That is going to make it a situation where now Leo can force this Roshan if they want to find that fight. But Furia, they got to be careful, because Hokori, yeah, they just want to smoke. They don't want to give you that objective. They want to run at you. And if they find anything here, this is going to be pretty disastrous. Any kill on this side of the map is going to result in the other team going into the pit. And they saw, I believe, that Ancient Apparition Vortex on the high ground. So Furia, they have to know something's up here. And Duster, he's going to break it.
Yeah, Duster's going to be the first to go down. Looking for other heroes. I mean, they could just still go in the pit. He doesn't have buyback. They don't necessarily know that, but with Wyvern being down for 50 seconds, should be a pretty easy Aegis here for the side of Hokori. And Furia know that. They immediately just resort to pushing lanes, like they're pushed in top, mid, and bottom, all the way to the tier 2 tower. So they're feeling pretty safe. Leo does have his Aghanim Scepter completed, and at this point, she can pretty much be anywhere on the map. Like, this is one of the most ridiculous abilities in the game. I can't believe it exists, but here we are.
And that's where we might see Leo as well also take over the net worth record, because, oh my goodness, he has so many last hits. Of course, some of those being the small camps may be slightly inflated, and he isn't as efficient net worth wise as this axe is, but you have a full BKB on the axe now. We haven't seen too many plays being made, and it is a little bit more safe for Furia to go into these later stages. We talk a lot about how fantastic the Storm is going into those very, very late game stages. It just feels like after a certain point on Storm Spirit, all of your timings really come to fruition. You have really every item timing on the hero just bumps you up so much stronger. You have that Bloodstone, you have that BKB, you have that Agnum Scepter, you have that 25. You have so many timings later in the game that you never really feel bad about going late. But that's where we've also seen nothing coming out from Vitalian. They do get the kill top with TRs. They do find Rodeo here. Ardio, he steps forward just a little bit, and that's where neither team is really finding any of these engagements. And thankfully, TRs is on a hero like the Axe, not one of his others like the Drought.
What a bait bottom. Oh my goodness. They were so ready to bait this Storm Spirit Duster. Just gonna TP out, it seems. But oh my goodness. They just chilled in the trees behind this Ancient Apparition. Just an immediate doom onto that hero. Sexy Flat able to find a kill there onto the Hoodwink using the Epicenter, but a Blink call in from the Axe, and God, he does so much damage. Sexy Flat out of mana now, doesn't have the way to Burrow Strike to safety, and as long as he can stay on top, continue these auto attacks, maybe he can find the kill. A nice force staff there from RDO, tops him off. He's gonna be just fine.
And that's where we look right back bottom. Leo being incredibly obnoxious. That's where the split push game will begin, and that's where Furia can find a lot of net worth on their other heroes. But you have to wonder, when do Furia actually want to take this fight? That really, Hokori, while they haven't been making the biggest sweeping plays across the map, I do feel like there is a point where they are just going to turn on the heat. And is this plan of Vitaly actually going to work?
He has a BKB. He's 100% fine. On the backside, it's actually setting up a kill here onto Duster. Ice Blast gonna come through. Don't think it connected onto anyone. It did not. Oh my goodness, the crit on that Infernal Blade nearly killed the Storm Spirit. They do get the Aegis here on the backside. Was that most likely due to Leo, if I had to assume?
It was Leo, and I believe it was just Leo plus Sexy Fat plus Solar Bind, and he didn't want to use his BKB, because why would you want to use your BKB? You're not exactly pushing up high ground with this Aegis. I think we won't see the high ground broken, at least coming from the Hokori side, until a little bit later, maybe around that second Roche timing, and that is something that their lineup isn't very adept at. You are going to see them struggle to make those same plays where Leo is able to claim this tier 2 tower pretty much for free, and Duster, he's looking for this disconjoined play. If he can get a curse next to somebody right next to the Axe, they will most likely get taken out, even though TRS without popping that Manta doesn't do too much damage. This does allow Leo to constantly farm the other sides of the map, and that's where you'll never see this TA actually have a reason to stop. But sticking around, this is really sketchy from Furia. If they find out about these heroes up here, with
just... I mean, he saw the Remnant though, so they know someone's up there. And as a result, Duster and Sooth's gonna back off. They see him with that ward, so they know there's no one gonna be underneath the trees there anymore. Opening up Outpost now as they take the first tier 2 of the game. I mean, meanwhile, mid lane and bot lane, Sexy Fat got a tier 2 of his own.
Yeah, you have to be very conscious now where you're going to want to pick up a gem on either Gardic or El Misho, because if you don't get rid of these traps, they're always going to go now to the other side of the map. Leo is going to continue to split you, and although you have pretty good ways of canceling that BKB TP, and Leo's a little bit crazy because he is very close to the Doom right now. They can't ever jump him, and Leo's doing a really good job of not giving them these opportunities. And if somebody can get in top, then you're playing in 3 lanes, and Furia are going to be happy with that. We also see the BKB fully completed now onto Leo. Doesn't need to send it to him either, always having that trap in the fountain. You just have unlimited resources. They really need to get rid of these traps. Otherwise, Hokori are going to start playing versus a very big advantage. Same with Analog, not being able to find this TA and actually mid. Oh, cool. Oh, the illusion room.
Oh my goodness, he's out.
Looking good.
The stash resistant illusion rune actually make it work.
Over here now.
That's absurd because now he didn't have to use his TP or didn't have to go out anywhere on the base. And then Leo finds time to go top. So I really think Hokori are starting to get dodged. And we're going to see this net worth gap close just a little bit here. They're missing their timing just a little bit because Fúria Jovem aren't giving them anything.
No, they're not. I mean, it's pretty much stabilized at this point. Like, this TA can just constantly split push and force them bottom. Sexy Fat has done a great job of staying bottom as well, and just waiting for someone to make a mistake and come over here that has no business being on this side of the map. And they do see the axe. They could go for, oh my gosh, he got a mind breaker. Quite a good item for the axe.
Pretty good item, especially versus the Storm Spirit, but
Lane,
they found him top.
They found Leo finally. And this is going to be the first death for the TA. She is now 1-1-1. So very impactful game so far on this hero on the other side of the map. They managed to take down Gardic.
Yeah, and just showing a little bit too much. That's where finally you found El Misho getting that pick off. He tried to actually kill El Misho, but without having, or actually with having that Aghanim shard, he thought he could get it, did a pretty hefty amount of damage.
Oh,
but no
Axe found Storm.
Oh, yeah.
He just didn't Manta though, and he survives as a result. Okay. If the Axe
Duster?
Manta's there, that's just a dead Storm
no.
Spirit. Duster on the high ground is going to get out as well, and Storm Spirit just TPs. Wow, that is surprising.
Analog with the 50, he could have dragged it out a little bit and got the guaranteed chains onto Duster, but he went for the 50 on the creep camp, and he lost. And now Artio might be casualty of war here. He's going to get chased down by El Misho, but this is a game of cat and mouse where Hokori are getting dragged all across the map trying to make these kills happen, and every time they fail...
Oh, they found backline. A huge call once again by the Axe, and it's going to set up the first kill there onto the Storm Spirit. Duster just getting chased down by 2. Burrow Strike does come through to try and keep him alive for the moment, but they find 3. That deep ward, it's been there since they started the T2 push a few minutes back and has finally paid off. Sexy Fat knows not to go to the base right now until he sees that Ice Blast, and so now Sexy Fat feels a little bit safer.
Yeah, and you do see Artio immediately split off to that top lane. There's no building damage still, and Leo, once he's able to get back out onto the map, the issue is that Hokori are getting wise to your plays. You see all these heroes converging just a little bit on the TA, but I don't think they're going to go for that play without the Doom. I don't think they have nearly enough lockdown to keep her held down there. But Analog is going to play now in this bottom lane. The only issue is he does have to be careful. He doesn't have a fantastic way to cleanse himself of that TA trap silence. So Leo, if he's able to get him in 2, might actually have some soul kill potential, especially once he gets this Daedalus. But take a look at Leo. Okay, he's farming here, but Vitaly got him
again with the Doom. They just know where to be, and he's just going to try and stand his ground, try and do what damage he can, but another death here on the Templar Assassin. They're adding up. I mean, you can't do this.
Yeah, and it's one of those carries where every death is going to be felt, where every death, the lanes start to get pushed in a little bit further. They get a little bit closer to your Ancient, and it's more farm now going to both Analog and Tiaras. And once this Ember Spirit starts to feel like he's caught up with his axe, that's where Fúria Jovem really are going to start to have issues, where once that Aghanim Scepter is completed on Analog, and I'm not sure, I think he's stopping for the BKB along the way, respecting the opponents just a little bit more, but Suits with his build is not very good at getting these lanes out, not very good at split pushing the lanes, in sort of a cost of having this TA playstyle. Your Storm has stopped farming. He has not had those same opportunities, mainly because he has to sit with the rest of the members of his team while Leo goes for the split push style, and this just means that we're not seeing those Storm Spirit item timings come out nearly as fast.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that the TA is soaking so much net worth for the team as a result of this, and then you just die twice back to back on this hero, and you're so high level that your death timer is massive, right? Like, she's been off the map for basically 3 minutes now, and like, I don't know what you can do to keep up with an Axe who just can throw illusions down the lane. Like the amount of net worth that he's accrued in the time that she's been dead is massive. Like he's got a 5k plus gold advantage now, has his assault cuirass on his way to an abyssal blade, and once you have that item, you are in a really bad position here for the side of Furia. Like he can just find any hero, make sure that they stay locked down, cannot survive. Zeus will go ahead and find the TA, but it's going to be a nice call on the backside from the Axe. He ended up not popping the BKB here, trying to stand his ground. A nice jump in here from Vitali. Can they take down the Storm Spear? It looks like it's going to be close, but he still has mana to escape. Now Ice Blast comes through. Doesn't really connect onto much, and Tiara this is a big death if he doesn't get out of there, but he's going to. He's got the blink escape analog, able to help take down RDO as well, and Vitali continuing the chase here, finding Duster. No way out, and it's gonna be 3 for nothing. The fact that Tiara survives this is unreal.
Just fantastic Glimmer Cape coming out from Gardic, and then the support coming from his allies. He gets almost double Force Staffed away from that Sand King, and they blew absolutely everything on TRS, and his teammates just did a fantastic job keeping him up there. Now Leo, oh, if Vitali was just a little bit closer. But he sits there and he tanks all of Leo's right clicks, and there's no spill damage. None of his teammates are behind him, but Leo has to break. He has to TP out before his BKB is actually going to expire, and that's where Tiaras just knows exactly what his place in his game. If he can stand opposing to this TA, if he can tank all of the damage, his allies can carry the brunt, and that's where you look at the Furia side. They don't have an Ember Spirit. They don't have a Doom. A lot of that net worth is actually falling to the Keeper of the Light, who is also making those split push plays. It's where once Suits is out of mana and he does not have that much mana to play with right now, you are gone. You are out of damage in the tank, and that's where Sexy Fat really all in with that epicenter play to just try to get that kill onto Axe. Regardless if he killed Tiaras, he was 100% dead there, and that's where Hokori might have a few more carries in their lineup naturally that Furia, who have played the split push game, might not realize that they're ending up in a late game where there are 4 cores that are going to end up on the Hokori side.
I mean, Vitali is on his way to his refresher after finishing the Shivas and picking up a gem. So, like we talked about, picking up these TA traps and removing them from the map is a big deal. So now much easier to do. Doom is the hero that's going to be hunting her, basically. So he's very happy with how things are going.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he isn't the best hero at killing the traps, but he is one of the best heroes at holding this gem. We really haven't seen a play on Vitali in a very long time. And even though they take back this bottom outpost, you're seeing Vitali, he's walking the line, and now Leo has to get even smarter with his traps. He can't just put them in the waves like he has. He has to start playing around these tree lines. He has to start being a little bit more sneaky, and that's where we might see him go for a Blink Dagger possibly. He's working on his 25 right now, and thankfully he does have that Daedalus, but you can't help but feel that right now Hokori have built themselves up in such a way that once you have this Daedalus, great, you still have to use your BKB to hit us, and once that BKB is out, they're gaining so many tools to kite him right now, and I'm seeing the Aeon Disc getting queued up, getting built up by the Hokori side, and no sight of a Nullifier yet coming from your TA. This is definitely worrying.
So Axe managed to finish up the Abyssal Blade, queuing up the Swift Blink next. That's pretty much the standard build. Sometimes you, I mean, obviously can skip the Abyssal Blade, but the Swift Blink is a big part of the Axe kit. And I mean, he's at a point now where anyone who gets called by this hero will die. There is no doubt in my mind, even through Cold Embrace, there's not a whole lot of options there. This guy is pretty much unstoppable. The question is like whether or not Furia can find him and take him down, you know, solo before like he initiates a fight essentially. Nice little pick up there for Analog, chasing down RDO as he's just trying to cut waves, and the last outer tower for Furia falls.
And you saw Leo for a second try to get the split push now done in the top lane, but it's just not enough. And you see how differently he's playing. He's already trying to set these traps in the entrances and exits of each jungle because he knows at this point of the game, at this stage, he's going to get dewarded. And I wonder how long Furia can actually play this game, how long they can actually play this style. And of course, you do have Storm Spirit to defend the high ground, but I'm kind of glad that his creep waves are finally getting pushed into him because we're finally seeing him get a little bit of farm. Being 3,000 gold ahead of your own Sand King is not where you want to be. He was finally able to get that Aghanim Scepter, but what are you comboing into? You're comboing into that epicenter, and sure, that's fantastic, but I feel like right now we need to see more coming out of Leo style, but he really doesn't have any target.
Yeah, I'm a little worried here for the side of Furia. I think the net worth lead is becoming borderline insurmountable. You know, Tiara's here on the axe is just super farmed, and they're gonna find Duster here once again. Blink Call sets up an easy kill, and the question is, you know, axe probably goes the Berserker Calls AoE at 25, like he's closing in on it. We can take a look at oh wow, Leo actually already has his, so he is going to have that 8 refraction instances, which is a really big buff to this hero. Like you just have 14 instances of that refraction to hold through. RDO, he just died here before, and he's back to do the exact same thing.
And look bottom at Almisho. Leo thinks that he's baiting here, but oh, okay.
He makes
Just
it out.
leaves immediately. And that's where it does feel broken. The Ags is a little too good.
Is RDO just actually going to cut this next wave? Is he just like sitting here invis to cut the next wave, or is he just a walking ward at this point? Or not even walking. He literally can't move. Okay, he's
going to go for it. They're all channeling. They see him. Okay.
They're like, all right, this guy, he can't get away with this twice, right? 3 TPs come out for this.
Look at Gardic. He says, guys, get the lanes in right now. Puts the arrows top, puts the arrows mid. And Leo, before he was able to jump pretty much everywhere, but now it's really slowing down.
Duster.
Yeah. Duster again on the eye spot. They just keep finding these plays over and over again. This is without Analog's Aghanim Scepter, where once he gets that, he's going to be everywhere. He's going to be left, right, and center, and that is going to be your hero to play tandem to the Templar Assassin. And right now, Leo, you haven't hit a hero in over 15 minutes, I feel like. He had that one duel versus the Axe mid since accruing most of his net worth, and you look at how far between they are now. Tiaras has absolutely everything, and he is the perfect hunt hero now. He has this Abyssal Blade. Even though you are able to get out with that Psionic Projection, I'm pretty sure anyone who gets found out by Tiaras is just dead, straight up.
Well, that's a one-shot there onto Gardic. Almisho able to keep himself alive, but there it is. Psionic Projections back to base. See ya.
If Tiaras has the 25, he's actually just dead there, but that is the downside of playing these illusion carries. A lot of your last hits are actually not in XP range, so that's why you see Leo style, or not Leo style, that's why you see Leo farming a little bit faster and being a little bit of a higher level, especially because he's just playing by himself. He's not playing with his teammates at all. And while this game really is stalling out, Hokori are kind of barreling towards this late game that can't reiterate enough. I feel like they're going to have the advantage going into, just because you're getting nothing from your Storm Spirit or your Sand King. All of their items are so stalled out, and now they have to save for buybacks. It just isn't going to feel fantastic. And Leo needs to wait for the next projection. No.
He's just dead. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. They've managed to stall the game out for 40 minutes, but they're in my eyes, this game was over like 20 minutes ago. Like, I don't know what Furia can do here to actually win this game. It's really bizarre. I mean, they're just going to continue to cut waves endlessly. You do have buyback available on your TA, but Tiaras is unstoppable. He got the Illusionist Cape. It is the best possible item drop he could have got. You have Flicker on the Doom, who also has a refresher, going for an Aeon Disc. Like, there's nothing. Like, I don't see a win condition for Furia here. The win condition
Really
is like Hokori diving Fountain twice or something.
Exactly, and that's what they are unfortunately playing for. They're playing for the fact that their opponents don't have the greatest push. They need to actually end this game, but here we go. We're actually going to get some siege finally on these buildings, and the Arctic Burn is obnoxious, as well as that Storm Spirit using all of his mana, but now that the Glyph is forced out, and you actually have this Axe Illusion kiting the top wave, and unfortunately the cards didn't get picked off, you have 2 waves in your buildings right now, so without Glyph, there's actually going to be sizable damage here. Finally, the Coddle comes back, but
oh, they caught the storm.
No.
They don't even have to. They don't even have to doom them. They didn't even bother, and they've still got refresher doom. Storm's about to come into a rude awakening. A blink call on the backside finds Winter Wyvern as well as the Sand King, and now the game just falling apart here for Furia. Can he actually be kept alive? Sand King, nice cold embrace there from the Wyvern. Tiaras needs to be careful. TA is coming back. Max will continue to apply pressure to the barracks. They get the double buyback. Templar Assassin is back on the map. She can begin cutting waves once again. But if she gets caught,
it's just really over. And I think the entire reason they press so hard for that is they don't want to use the buyback on the TA, as well as now Tiaras, we saw it there. He was actually able to call Link up on that high ground and with no fear at all, as well as Duster just feeling like he had to curse someone, but cursing a Doom onto an Ember Spirit, neither of them actually do that much physical damage. They are much more about having that control, being incredibly tanky, and right now, actually looking at Vitaly's armor, it looks a little bit bugged because I know he has that plus 15 coming from the Shivas, but it's just a game of cat and mouse that you're still losing on the Furia side. If they really want to wait this one out, they could look for that next Roche on Hokori. That's going to be your possible another refresher shard coming out, or you could be seeing that Aghanim Scepter that you'll probably throw either on the Doom or actually Leo. Well,
they're gonna find him top lane. Tiaras is there, and that he's just dead. He doesn't need any help. He solos any hero in the game here at this phase of the game. And that's the thing, like your TA is the only hero who can leave the base. She is doing, you know, her best to split push, but she's not able to avoid getting ganked. And at this point, it seems like Furia have pretty much ran out of answers.
And going back to the draft, this was a first phase TA. This was something they could have been confident about. Now, RDO is a little bit of a badass there. Still playing with this Shadow Amulet, and, well, jig's up.
He's been found. High five him, dude. Give him the high five. Be nice. All right, he's not nice.
I honestly don't blame him. You're making him play this this terrible game, but 33k net worth gold lead now. Roshan has respawned with that Aghanim Scepter shard, so you are going to give the Ags over to one of your teammates for free. Probably the Doom could be, well, I guess I was going to say could be El Misho, but he actually just finished up an Aghanim Scepter of his own. Don't think it actually does that much, this Aghanim Scepter on Tiaras, but I wouldn't really mind if they gave it to him just because he's been doing so much. And
I think you just give it to the Axe. The minus cooldown reduction, the minus armor,
yeah.
Like it is just a really sick upgrade if you get it.
He's playing around a little bit. Okay. Has to still slot it in, and if it was a super serious game and they had a different core matchup, maybe I would say it's better on the Doom just because of that passive break, but there's really no one to break on the enemy team. If you get doomed and you're the Storm Spirit, who cares that you don't have Overload, because you're probably going to be dying in a few seconds after that.
And the bonus 6 seconds is irrelevant. If you're getting doomed this game, you're dead within 3. Like,
exactly.
There's nothing. Oh, he gets the call. He finds the Sand King, and he's trying to keep himself alive. Luckily, the fade there on that invis, keeping him in that for a moment. But Tiaras, again, he's just pushing them back. Storm out of mana for the time being, has to kind of regen up. He's baiting with this other illusion. They thought it was real, but now he's just running it at the Sand King. He did get clipped by that Ice Blast, so not gonna be able to regen for now.
And with TA alive, they are going to be hesitant to go for that incredible jump, but now you have the refresher as well on the Ember Spirit. Or was it the Ember Spirit? No, Ember's, he's trying to get a refresher, but once you have that, he already has his BKB. I really don't think you have any more targets. Again, going on the Sand King, and okay, he doesn't have the BKB slotted for this Aegis, so they might get it, but
I mean,
okay.
They get the Doom out though, the first death. Now Axe. You're kidding me. He actually made it out. RDO trying to push him back, but Glimmer Cape too strong. Vitaly goes in, pops the BKB, gets the Doom onto the TA. She is so dead. There's nothing that she can do. She has no buyback either. Axe is still alive through all of this. Hasn't managed to get picked off. Now Hoodwink back on the backside of the fight. Analog goes in, pops that refresher, throws all the remnants, looking to take down even more. Triple kill for Analog. Ice Blast connects into the fountain. Tiaras doesn't even care. He doesn't care. He has an Aegis. He'll dive the fountain. You know, we said the only win condition for Fury here is, you know, dying in fountain twice, but I don't think you're dying in fountain once. The Abyssal Blade just rubbing salt in the wounds. And Hokori finally managed to close this game out with a 50k golden lead.
And 50k gold lead really is the name of this game. All of that net worth was dumped onto your TA, a TA that really couldn't hit her timing. And we talked about it a little bit where they were both farming tandem. They were both looking at those items, but TRS was just too darn farmed, as well as just you have a BKB and an Aghanim Scepter on the TA, and you look at TRS, and he's got Blink, BKB, Manta Style, Ag Shard, and he is running at you nonstop. As well as I think Furia really underestimated having this carry into the Ancient Apparition, where if the TA ever went in, if she stuck around for too long, she was getting chain stopped, she was getting AA blasted, and this combo just worked way too well with the Axe AA, and it was in your first phase. They knew about it. They were picking the rest of their lineup, knowing exactly what was going to happen, and this is with so many carries still in the pool. I really think Furia should have just sent that TA mid. Maybe this Ember Spirit's E, maybe the Flame Guard would be a little bit annoying when it came to that refraction, and maybe you didn't want to have that dual core lineup where you are ending up farming quite a lot. But with the way that this game ended out, imagine if they had a Terrorblade instead of that Storm Spirit. Imagine if they had a Gyrocopter. I just felt like with what Furia put down, they were not playing to their lineup strength, and that's why we had this awkward 25-minute period where they were just mode split push. There was never any kill in the side lane. There was very little setup. In the Sand King and the Storm, they just ran out of plays. They ran out of time, and it was just mode dodge for the longest time, and you can't dodge Hokori forever.
No, I mean, this was this might have honestly been one of the lowest damage 46-minute games I've ever seen. Like I looked at all the damage numbers from both teams, and like no one really did anything. Like it was legitimately just farming for 25-ish minutes, wondering if they were gonna get a pick off here and there, but there wasn't really. It didn't seem like there was a game plan for Furia. I think they started to realize that they didn't really have a chance at going late game against Hokori, and then we're like, hey, well, let's just stall it out. Maybe Hokori will make a mistake. But if there's one thing I know, like Hokori doesn't make mistakes on this axe. Like he is literally undefeated so far in this tournament. And I feel like you just need to ban the axe. Like there's just no reason to give this hero to Hokori. We'll see what they decide to do here in game number 2. We're going to go to a small break, and we'll be right back with that one. Everyone stay tuned here for another series, or another game rather, between Hokori and Furia on Beyond the Summit. This is the Loot Bet Pro Series Season 7. We'll see you in a bit.